Hey, I'm back, and I have a semi-controversial topic to discuss today. I know that a lot of people that watch my videos know me personally, and so it's gonna be kind of uncomfortable. But I feel like I want to do it, and I need to do it. If not for anything, but for myself, you know. And I want to talk about healing from religious trauma. So I don't know if y'all remember, but back in the late 70s, early 80s, I was in junior high school, and they had these religious tracts. They were in cartoon style. And I remember I was at a Howard Johnson's hotel with my dad and mom and brother. We was on vacation. And I found one somewhere, I think like in the restroom of a restaurant. And mind you, I was only like 11 or 12 years old. But when I read this thing, it terrified me. It scared me to death. And one of the main reasons why, it was talking about the end of the world, but one of the main reasons why it scared me so much, because we were in the midst of the Iran hostages. I don't know if y'all remember that. I'm old. Y'all might not remember all these things, but we were in the middle of the Iran hostage thing, where Iran had some Americans hostage. And in my mind, that meant World War III. I was 11 or 12 years old. You know, we didn't discuss religion a lot in my house as a child. We went to church every now and then. We went to vacation Bible school, you know, but I didn't learn a lot about religion as a child. And so I read this and I was absolutely terrified. I had an aunt, her name was she was my Aunt Ethel. She was my dad's aunt, actually. And we called her Bay. And so she came to live with us when I was around this time. And I was going through a lot, man. A lot of bullying, a lot of teasing, just a lot, like for an 11-year-old to go through. And she came down to live with us for a while, because my mom, we had just moved into this huge house with a huge yard, and my mom needed help. She needed help with me and my brother, and she needed help taking care of that big old house. And so Aunt Ethel came down to stay with us. And she was one of them, she was quasi-religious. You know, she was one of them black folks religious. You know, she smoked cigarettes, she cussed, she was mean as hell, but she went to church, she knew how to speak in tongues, and she knew all the gospel songs, you know. So she took me to church with her one day, and I experienced something there that I had never experienced before, you know. So I felt like I needed to just isolate myself as an 11-year-old child and only read my Bible, and don't watch TV or nothing else, because that would cause me to go to hell. And my 11-year-old self went to school with this mindset. I wouldn't talk to any of my friends or anything like that. I didn't really have many friends. And so it was crazy for me as a 12-year-old, you know, going through this by myself. So my first encounter with God, real encounter with God, was fear-based. I didn't want to go to hell. That was the basic thing. So that made me think that God was a punishing God. He was not a gracious God. I had to do exactly what he said, or he would send me to hell and I would burn forever, with demons down there and worms going in and out of my eyes, and I was terrified. The main things that made me fearful was that I looked at God through the lens of my relationships with human beings. So my experience with humans was conditional love, unforgiving, narcissistic, and egotistical, and God is not a narcissist. Neither does he have an ego problem. And one of the main things was, I felt like, and I still to this day feel like, I have to perform in order to please God. You know, and he never gave me those instructions, those ultimatums, or nothing like that. You know, but that was how I perceived God as my father, because basically, my dad was a very demanding person of me as far as my intelligence and the things that I was capable of and that kind of stuff. So he had high standards. And I felt like, and I felt this, that when I did good, I was rewarded, but when I did bad, he was unpleased, you know, and so I had to do good in order to please him, you know, and God is not like that. You know, God loves us unconditionally. He loves the world, you know, so that was very, very hard for me to get over as far as me, because I made so many mistakes, and my worth was based on my performance, you know. So when I made mistakes, I was worthless, you know. And like I said, over the years, I've had several salvation experiences, but the most impactful, of course, was the one that I was recently in. My last one is when I went to the last church that I attended. I went to this ministry in 2002. This is going to be very hard for me to speak about, but it's my personal experience. And I'm speaking from my point of view and the things that I personally went through on the inside spiritually. You know, a lot of times we look at our experiences as things that have happened to us. I don't want to say tangibly. I don't think that's the word I'm looking for. But things on the outside of us, you know, but I'm talking from my inner experience as a woman with low self-esteem, low self-worth, that had mental health issues and that was addicted. This thing giving me the blues. This is a sidebar, but one of the main reasons that I became addicted to substances was because I was self-medicating myself for my mental health issue. You know, I didn't understand why I felt like I felt. I just knew I didn't want to feel like that anymore. I experienced with different things, and I realized when I did those things, I felt better. You know, and so that made me continue to want to do those things because I just wanted to feel better. You know, I didn't know what was going on. My family didn't even know. In the 80s, ain't nobody know nothing about no mental illness, especially in the Black community. You know, you just need to get up and do what you need to do and stop whining. And I know y'all have all heard this, but if you depressed, go press them dishes in there. You know, it was all about that. Mental health issues meant you were weak, especially in the Black community, especially in the 80s and 90s. One of the main things that I want to talk about is indoctrination. When you indoctrinate someone, you are in the process of leading a person or group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. The key word is uncritically. I wasn't built like that. Even as a little child, I had questions. I wanted to know stuff. And many times I got in trouble just for being nosy. You know what I mean? But I've always been inquisitive because I've always been a learner, you know. And so I wanted to know, you know, okay, this says this, but what does that really mean? Like, how can I apply that to my life? You know, what in historic context, what happened? You know, what was going on during that time? I need to know all of that. You can't just tell me something and say, okay, believe this. And don't think about why you're believing it or what you're believing. Just believe it because I said it, because I am in a leadership position and God placed me in this position. I wasn't with it. I got in so much trouble just for saying stuff, for questioning stuff, until I learned how to be quiet. You know, after you get in trouble so many times for speaking, then you just learn how to be quiet. You know, you don't question leadership. How dare you correct leadership, even if it's a misspelled word? You know, it was crazy to me, but I accepted that because I had no foundation within myself to draw from. So I accepted what was given to me, what was said to me, Because all I knew is I didn't want to do what I was doing previously, and I wanted a new life. So maybe if I just go ahead and do what they say, you know, I'll be okay eventually. You know, but that wasn't the case. I went through a lot, but one thing I did do is I remained faithful. And it was crazy. I was so faithful and committed. And I gave everything that I did there 1,000%. Even when I was told, that's not good, I don't like that. You know, I would bring an idea or something to the table and I was told, you know, don't nobody want to do that. You know, so, but I would continue to press on. I knew, even through all of that, I knew that I had a calling on my life. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Still don't exactly know what it is, but I knew that I had a calling on my life. You know, something, God had something for me to do, put it that way. I ain't trying to say I was all spectacular and I'm going to go to Africa and preach to millions of people. I didn't say all that. I just knew God had something for me to do. Even if it's just to raise my 3 cats, it's something he has for me to do. And like I said, I remained faithful to this ministry until I decided to be faithful to myself. You know, I had been raw dogging life for the past 20 years at that ministry. I felt misunderstood for 20 years. I felt like I didn't fit in for 20 years at that ministry. I tried to put on different masks. I tried to be like other people that were, you know, high up or exalted or whatever, or loved more, or visibly or loved more. You know, I'm not saying they didn't love me, but they were visibly treated better or loved more than I was. You know, I felt misunderstood for 20 years. See, I grew up in the suburbs. I didn't grow up in the streets, you know. I went to the streets. I took myself to the streets. But I didn't grow up in the streets. I grew up in the suburbs. I grew up at HBCUs. My dad was in education my entire life. My first contact with physical, eye-to-eye, person-to-person contact with a white person didn't happen until I was 10 years old. I was always around, you know, my culture, which I'm so grateful for that. But I was sheltered. I grew up in my mama was, and still to this day, is overprotective, you know. She wouldn't let us go play. She wouldn't let nobody come over. It was just crazy, you know. She's overprotective, but I see her heart now. I didn't understand it then, but now I see her heart. Growing up in the suburbs does not make me better than anyone. It just makes me different, you know. And when you're different, you need to be handled differently, you know. Your needs are different than other people's needs. You know, the things that you're doing for other people might not work for me, you know. So the fact of the matter is I haven't really even left the church. You know, I haven't officially left the church. You know, I just haven't been in a long while. But I haven't denounced it or left it or anything like that. Matter of fact, because of that ministry, I did gain a relationship with Christ, you know, a for real personal one, especially after these latter incidences, because I was by myself then, and it wasn't nobody but me and Jesus. And so I told him my heart. I told him everything. I told him all my doubts and my fears. I told him when I didn't trust him. I told him everything. I told him why I felt like I didn't believe sometimes, you know. And so because of that, I had a real relationship with Christ, not a performative relationship with Christ, not a relationship with Jesus that needed to be seen or observed or admired. I didn't need your approval for my relationship with Christ, because it was just me and him. You know, it was during the pandemic. My husband had just left me and bankrupted our business. You know, my dad passed away at the end of 2020 unexpectedly, and that devastated me to the core of my being, because he was my hero. And then the pastor of the church, our bishop, passed a month later. You know, so it was a hard time. You know, it was a difficult time for me. I had never experienced loss like that before. Nobody that in my family that I personally was close to had ever passed during my lifetime. I don't even know if that makes sense, but I had a big family, but I wasn't close to everybody. I didn't really know them, you know, but my dad was my hero. And so that devastated me. But the grief, the fear, all of that in this house by myself, I knew it was a seed in me that knew that I had to call on Jesus. There's nothing else that I could do. What am I going to go do? Go to the club? Baby, I met a lot of great people there. In fact, all of my friends in San Antonio that's where I'm from. In San Antonio are from there. I don't feel like I want to go to back to the place where I was so traumatized. I didn't want to relive that stuff over and over in my mind. And when I step in the door and I see the people and I see the setting and everything, it brings back memories and not good ones, you know. And I don't want to dwell in that negativity. And so it's not like I go in the door thinking about these things. I go in the door wanting to hear the word, but when I get in the door, it's like whoosh, because I see her and I see him and I hear this and I hear that and all of that, and the sensory it's just overwhelming to me sometimes, because it brings on pain, you know. And I right now I don't want to feel it. You know, sometimes they say, you know, you have to go through pain and suffering. That's not the era I'm in right now, as the young folks say. I'm not in that era of my life. I don't want to do that. I've been in pain most of my 56 years. And so it's not selfish for me right now to not be in pain, to not want to be in pain. You know what I mean? It's not selfish of me to want to be in a place where I feel like I fit in and I don't have to act a certain way, do certain things, or be a certain way to be accepted. I'm not in that place in my life right now. And a matter of fact, it's lonely. It's a lonely place, because as I said, most of my friends are in that church. But and since the pandemic, and since I've been in the house so much, I have developed, you know, certain things. I have agoraphobia. I'm scared to leave my house, you know. I have panic disorder, and it's real, you know, and it ain't something that I can just pray away. You know, if that was the case, I wouldn't have none of these issues I have today, because I prayed. I was on my face praying and fasting during that church. And things didn't change. And so I think that that was an indicator to me that, you know, you need a break, Deidre. You need a break. You need to try some new stuff. So right now I'm in my healing phase. You know, I am in a place where I'm taking care of myself mentally, emotionally. I'm learning how to take care of myself physically. I'm learning how to just focus on positive stuff. I'm getting my faith back, because I did lose it for a minute, you know, and that's just honest, you know. I was like, God, I served you for all these years. Why is all this happening to me? You know, I did. Even when I was out, even when I messed up, I was still faithful, God. You know, but I was treated like I had the plague. You know, yeah, it was a rough, God, what in the world is going on? This is not what this was supposed to be. But there was a rough time. But God is faithful, you know. I'm getting my faith back, you know. I've been watching the word. I always read the word, but I've been watching it online, you know, and so I'm getting fed what I need to get fed. But I'm also processing these other things that are going on with me that I know people in that community would not understand, would not approve of, would just tell me to pray about it, give it to Jesus. You know, you need to walk by faith and da-da-da. And I did that for 20 years. And so I'm trying to do something different because that didn't work for me. You know, so I'm doing some different things. And religious trauma is real. Religious trauma is real. And it's so many people being traumatized in their churches right now and don't even realize it. And even if you want to stay in that church, you still need to take care of yourself. You know, you need to heal from the things that are traumatizing you, you know, because actually the people around you and the people in those leadership positions may not even realize what's going on because they don't really know what's going on with you. So they don't understand that when they say this or say that, that is hindering you in some type of way, you know. But when you come to the realization that, you know, you need to heal in certain areas, you got to take people out of the picture. People should not be other people should not be a factor in your healing. You know, you need to seek healing for yourself. Nobody's going to come to you and heal you. Nobody's going to speak over you and sprinkle magic Christian dust on you and you're going to be healed. That's not going to happen. Healing is a process. It's a journey. It's painful as hell, you know, but it is rewarding when you overcome things. You become stronger and you don't even realize that you have become. Y'all, I'm going to do hair better with my hair and I'm going to put some makeup on next time. But you don't even realize you become stronger. You know, until you look back and say, oh, I overcame that. You know, that was cool. I did that, you know. And so, but don't dwell in that. Just you got to keep going to the next thing, you know. But yeah, celebrate yourself. This has been all over the place, but it was good for me and it was good to me. And I thank y'all for staying through the whole thing if you made it this far. And I will talk to y'all later.